formally with anyone who has any individual questions they wish the company to address. Now, they're not required to do that, but they have graciously agreed to do so. We have also invited representatives of the other parties to remain as well to answer any of your other questions on an informal basis. Now, I've noticed that there are several of the Kentucky American folks that are here in the audience, most of whom are sitting down on the front row, for the first 2 or 3 rows to my left. And I would ask them to remain roughly in that position at the conclusion of the hearing so that if you do have questions of them, you'll be able to find them fairly easily. Now, those of you wishing to speak should have indicated your intention to do so when you signed in out at the desk out here this evening. If you have not signed in, please do so, whether or not you intend to speak, so that we may have a complete record of this proceeding. Let me also mention that if when you came in you indicated that you did not want to speak, but you hear something from another party during the course of the hearing that you feel like you need to clarify, or you wish to make a comment after you've heard another comment, just because you said originally that you didn't intend to make public comment does not mean you can't change your mind. All you need to do, Mr. Melnikovich, before you go out, raise your hand so everybody can see you. Look for Mr. Melnikovich there, who can obtain a word from you that you do want to speak, that you have changed your mind, and he will come up here and let me know, and I'll change my list here, and I'll make sure that you're called on. Thank you, Andrew. Based upon the number of people who have indicated a desire to speak, we're going to allow 3 minutes per speaker so that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. Our timekeeper, Mr. Woocher here, will let you know when you have a minute remaining and when your time is up. Now, if you're at the end of your time and I tell you your 3 minutes is up and I'm about to give you the hook, I will still give you a few seconds or a minute or so to summarize and to wind up, because I do not want to cut you off in mid-sentence. I do want to hear what you have to say, but please understand that I do have to sort of police the time that everyone is given, and so that I'm somewhat consistent in the time that's given. Those of you that do not wish to speak this evening may submit comments in writing to the Commission. Now, we have comment forms that are available out front for you to do that, and you can turn those in tonight to a member of the PSC staff, or you can mail them, or you can fax them to the PSC, and our address is on the front of the comment form. You may also submit comments by email through our PSC website, which is psc.ky.gov. Now, as you can see, this meeting is being videotaped, and this tape will be available on the PSC website. Okay. Yeah, I just got made a liar of. Apparently, the video machine is having technical issues, so the meeting will be audio taped instead of videotaped, and the audio will be available on the website. Certainly, if you choose to access it and listen to precisely what is said this evening, you may do so. Is that right? That's correct. Okay. All right. Is that light blinding you? Yeah, it about blinded me when I walked in as well. I'll tell you, we'll let Andrew try to work on that, and I'll continue with my comments, and we'll see what we can do in that regard. And I'm not sure, since we're not videotaping the thing anyway, how much difference it would be to have. That was pretty simple. Isn't it great for someone from the PSC to know how to turn on and off a light switch? A summary, as I was saying, a summary of the public comments received tonight will be prepared for the three of us on the commission and will become a part of the case record, which is also available on the website. All written comments also will be entered into the case record. So if you send us an email or you fill out a written comment and hand it or mail it in to us or fax it to us, we will definitely look at that. And I can tell you that written comments will be accepted through the date of the formal evidentiary hearing in this case. That hearing, during which Kentucky American and the other parties will present their cases to the PSC and be subject to cross-examination, will begin at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, November 26th at the PSC offices at 211 Sauer Boulevard in Frankfort. It is open to the public. And I should note that this date is a postponement from the original schedule. We delayed the hearing in order to allow as complete a review as possible within a reasonable time frame of the proposal by the Louisville Water Company to supply Kentucky American water through a pipeline from its treatment plants on the Ohio River in Jefferson County. Now, two important things before we begin that I would ask you to keep in mind. First of all, because the Commission acts in a quasi-judicial capacity and commissioners must rule on the Kentucky American application, we cannot answer questions pertaining to the substance of this case. However, questions that you raise during this meeting may well be of assistance to the Commission and staff as we prepare for the evidentiary hearing. And PSC staff will be available after the public comments are concluded to answer any questions that you may have regarding procedural matters in the case. They cannot discuss substantive matters because of the pending case, but they can answer any procedural questions that you have. And if what you ask is not a procedural question, they'll tell you. Secondly, the PSC can consider only comments on matters that are before it and that it has the authority to review. The principal issue before the Commission is whether construction of the proposed plant and pipeline is a matter of public convenience and necessity. We have absolutely no authority over environmental matters or over condemnation proceedings, whether they involve public or private lands. Therefore, I would encourage you to focus your comments on issues that we do have jurisdiction over. Comments on matters falling outside of our authority cannot be considered by us as we reach our decision in this case. Now, enough from me. When you come up to speak, I would ask you to please come to the microphone right over here in the aisleway. I would ask you to very clearly state your name and your place of residence so that the audio tape can make a record of who you are. And again, please keep your comments to the allotted 3 minutes so that others will have the opportunity to address the Commission. Now, as is our custom, when we do these kinds of hearings, we usually always allow any elected public officials or their representatives who are present and who wish to address the Commission to go ahead and do that first. And I think that we have at least 2 or 3 that fall into that category. So I will begin. As I call your name, please come forward. Again, state your name, state your place of residence, and go ahead and make whatever comments that you wish to make to the Commission. The first speaker that I would call on is Winchester Mayor Ed Bertner. Mr. Mayor, would you come forward, please?
Members of the Public Service Commission, I appreciate the opportunity to be before you here tonight. My name is Ed Bertner. I'm the mayor of Winchester, and I appreciate this opportunity. Briefly stated, I support regionalism. I support interconnectedness. I think in a generation or two, you're going to see water systems that are interconnected. I think you're going to see basically the same model that exists in the natural gas and electric industries, where you have interconnected systems and you have grids where when one water system is in need of a water and another has it, that you can push and pass water through large pipelines. I support the Kentucky American proposal. I should say that I'm a member of the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission. I'm one of 2 mayors that serves on that commission, the other being Mayor Jim Brown of Cynthiana. I have a long history of dealing with utility issues from a regional standpoint, going back to 1976 when I worked for the Big Sandy, Area Development District in eastern Kentucky. Parenthetically, I'd like to say that I think the Public Service Commission should consider the notion of encouraging systems, rural water systems, to hook together and be connected. There ought to be common disinfectant and treatment processes, and where one water system is at the county line and another water system is on the other side of the county line and they are not connected, I would encourage connections between those systems. In many communities, that does not occur. In the Commonwealth, I'm told that we have 95 to 98% coverage with regard to public potable water, and I think the next generation, the next challenge is going to be to tie the systems together. I would like to say that I think that the Kentucky American proposal is one, does that mean 1 minute?
1 minute, yes.
Thank you. Is a proposal that we would support, that Winchester supports. I think it's a good proposal. I would also say that in my judgment, I think we have been too divisive, and it has been either or. I think it's not either or. I think it's any and all, and I think many strategies with regard to water supply in central Kentucky need to be explored. We have a critical problem in central Kentucky with regard to drinking water. The drought has demonstrated that, but we've had it for a long time, and it's time to move on. We don't need to delay a decision. I think the Kentucky American strategy, which is the later generation of the original BWSC strategy, I think that is a good approach and good strategy. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you, and I appreciate you all coming out to Lexington and the other two venues for this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, very much for your comments. All right, we will next move to Donna Powell, who represents Garrett County Judge Executive John Wilson and Lancaster Mayor Don Renton.
Thank you very much. My name is Donna Powell. I'm a resident of Lancaster in Garrett County. I'm a former mayor of Lancaster, and at present time, I'm special assistant to the Judge Executive, John Wilson. We are a very small community and a small county, but nonetheless important in our future of our water supply. We furnish water to the city of Crab Orchard and all of the Garrett County Water Association. We are a member of the Bluegrass Water Commission, and we have watched with interest over the years as they have worked for, I think, about the last 7 or 8 years on finding a regional solution to the water deficit in central Kentucky. And we support the Kentucky American and Bluegrass Water Supply Commission partnership in that effort. We have watched with interest also as Louisville Water Company has come up with at least 4 proposals that we are aware of and for a solution. And also the Bluegrass Water Commission has engineers, that a nationally known engineering firm that has decided in each case that it is economically feasible. The most economically feasible solution is the Kentucky American Water Solution in partnership with the Bluegrass Water Commission. It's very important to the people of Lancaster and Garrett County that we are a part of a regional solution. As I said earlier, we're very small, and sometimes small places get left out. And we feel good being a part of this regional effort. And we would like to let you know that we support this effort by Kentucky American and the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission. I think that the Kentucky Public Service Commission has a statutory responsibility to come up with a solution that is in the best interest of all of their constituents. And we feel like that this is absolutely the case. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate getting to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. All right, we'll next move to Tom Calkins, who represents Nicholasville Mayor Russ Meyer and Judge Cassidy of Jessamine County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I appreciate the 3-minute time limitation. I've never spoken about this particular topic in my life for as few minutes as 3 minutes. So I will read the prepared statement from the mayor and the judge. City of Nicholasville, and this goes, of course, for Jessamine County, the judge's letter on this was mailed on the 5th, and my understanding from staff is that this is already a part of the record in this case. City of Nicholasville strongly supports Kentucky American Water Company's application to build a new water treatment plant and related facilities on Pool 3 of the Kentucky River. The proposal submitted by Kentucky American supports regionalism and appears to be feasible, cost-effective, and capable of being completed in a reasonable time. As you well know, the issue of the water supply deficit in this region has been long-standing and still not resolved. The need for this project has been reinforced by the recent drought conditions we have endured. And in my capacity as Director of Public Utilities for City of Nicholasville and 3-year chairman of the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission, the 4th through the 10th of Pool 8 on the Kentucky River was almost more than I could stand, to be quite honest. Also, the City of Nicholasville is in favor of having the Kentucky Public Service Commission timely decide Kentucky American's application. Therefore, we oppose any action that would further delay approval in this matter. We respectfully request that you file these letters in the record of the case as the City of Nicholasville and Jessamine County's formal position in this matter. Thank you for your consideration, and I apologize for my emotional state. I understand that you do not want emotion when it comes to this matter, but when you have the responsibility for meeting the demand for treated water to tens of thousands of people, and you struggle day in and day out with Pool 8 on the Kentucky River, you could well imagine why I might be emotional. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Calkins, for your comments. All right, are there any other public officials that I have missed, or representatives of public officials that I might have missed, that wish to address the commission this evening? All right, I see none. So we'll go then to comments from members of the general public. The first name on the list that I have is Charles Martin.
Thank you. My name is Charles Martin. I live at 1237 Kennesaw Village Drive in Lexington, Kentucky. I am an employee of Urban County government, and I'm also Fayette County's representative of the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission, but I am here as a private citizen, not representing Urban County government's views. I'm also a licensed professional engineer in Kentucky and in Ohio. I've been involved in this discussion for the last 3 years as a member of the commission, so I felt like it was important that I came as a citizen and shared my observations. One that I have is that I feel like that there has been a very, very thorough analysis of this. Since I've been involved with the commission, they've looked inside, outside. They've continued to evaluate multiple alternatives, including, as was mentioned earlier, multiple alternatives that included the Louisville Water Company. And as was stated earlier, the conclusion is that the best and the most cost-effective long-term option was the Kentucky American option. I found that ironic because the commission and Kentucky American have been partners on this, but I can honestly say that it was not always a love fest. And that I think that's important, though, when you look at that, is that even besides all the bias that might have been associated with that, ultimately there was a unanimous decision on the part of the commission that Kentucky American's Pool 3 option was the best option, aside from all the bias and emotion, is that you have 10 members, 8 of which I believe are long-term water professionals that believe that this is the correct way and this is the best alternative for Central Kentucky. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin, very much. Our next speaker is, well, let's see, they've spoken already on behalf of the mayors. Bill Grier.
My name is Bill Greer, and I live in the Stonewall area just a few miles from here. And I was a member of the Fayette County Water Supply Planning Council that met in 1998 and 1999. And as a member of that council, I was a very, very firm supporter of the solution to the very obvious water supply problem of Central Kentucky was the pipeline to Louisville, in contrast to the Kentucky River solution which was presented at that time. My position now has totally changed. I'm now an equally strong supporter of the Kentucky River solution as has been presented by the Kentucky American Water Company. And the reason for the change is this, and it's a very clear reason. The original Kentucky River solution involved the raising of locks numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, in order to increase the available water storage in the area. I knew as an engineer that this would not and could not be done, and it has not and will not be done probably within the lifetime of anyone in this room. And that's why I supported the pipeline to Louisville at that time. It was expeditious, it could be done, a great deal of engineering work had already been accomplished at that time. It could have been done and was the apparent solution. Things now have totally changed. We're looking at a different situation today than was appeared in 1999. The Kentucky River alternate of today is the treatment plant on Pool 3. It has been designed, the bids will be opened shortly, and it is ready to go. It can be done within a couple of years. The pipeline to Louisville, no substantial engineering work has been done. It could be years before this project is put in place. We do not have years to wait, as you can see from the drought that we are in now. We are in a time crunch, and the alternative that can be built right now, and this is a very desirable alternative. It has approximately the same cost. Cost is not a factor, but the treatment plant on Pool 3, which has been designed and bid, will be open soon, is by far the best solution to solve our very immediate water supply problem here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next name on the list is Kitty Parker.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to have a moment of your time. My name is Kitty Parker, and I am a citizen of Lexington. I live at 624 Centennial Lane. I'm coming here just as a private citizen. I don't have any of the background that these other gentlemen have had to bring to this. However, I do believe that our citizens are going to be served and are going to have to bear the cost of all the new facilities for whatever is going to be purchased, or whatever the possibilities are going to be in the future. And at this time, I believe that Kentucky American Water has put out their proposal, and at this point, because of some of the media, I feel that there are other alternative solutions that really should be listened to and looked at in their entirety. This is a large proposal. It is something that the citizens are going to have to bear the cost of, and I feel that we need to look at every alternative solution before we just jump into some and make some sort of a decision that we may regret in the very near future. Further, I know you said that you could not address at all any of the environmental concerns, but as a citizen, I do have some environmental concerns about using much of the rural land and taking parcels of that. And so I would like to just mention that at this point in time. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Bonnie Fraker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bonnie Fraker. I live at 455 Ironworks Road in Scott County. We don't need or want a patch for the problem we have, our water problem. We need a solution. We need a long-term comprehensive plan. As you already know, Kentucky American has already declared a shortage, water coming from the Kentucky River. With a long-term plan, we can plan for the next 20 to 30 years, not the next 5 to 10. In my opinion, the Louisville water is far the best solution, as their water is limitless. I was not aware of the Ohio River, how much water is available, and I have been made aware of that. And I feel like we really need to take a serious look at that. The Kentucky River versus the Ohio River. The Ohio River's water supply is limitless. So I think we need to take a long look at that. There is no comparison to the Kentucky River and the Ohio River, as is explained to me and as I can see it. I understand we're concerned about cost. Let's keep our money in Kentucky. Let's think about that. Louisville is part of Kentucky. Louisville water, I feel like, could better serve us for more than one reason. I've just heard someone say that there's a concern about how much time it would take with Louisville water. My understanding is it would take 2 to 3 years. I'm not sure what the Kentucky American plan is and how long that would take. At this time, I ask you to reject the proposal by Kentucky American Water, take another look, and take a long look at the comprehensive plan for our water supply for the next 20 to 30 years, not just the next 5 to 10. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Fraker. All right, the next name, and I'm probably going to butcher the last name, so forgive me. Is it Ed Council?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the staff, commission. My name is Ed Council. I live at 7265 Peaks Mill Road in Franklin County. I'm the owner of an outdoor adventure company near the proposed pipeline route. My background related to this issue includes master's in regional planning and emphasis on water resource management. I am the former president of the Elkhorn Trust, a founding director of the Kentucky Attractions Association, former general manager of the Caveland Sanitation Authority, and 10 years with the Division of Water. My position is, frankly, that I approve wholeheartedly of the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission / Kentucky American Pipeline and project on Pool 3. My rationale for that is fairly simple. First, my business. For 26 years, most of our nearly 4 million customers have come and ranted and raved about the beauty of our area, the fences, the tree canopy, the vistas, the historic sites and structures, the horse farms, and of course, Elkhorn Creek itself. Therefore, these are my most important physical business assets, bar none. Second, in terms of my community's well-being, Elkhorn Creek attracts 75,000 people a year to its banks. These folks spend between $6 and $9 million annually, depending on whether or not they stay long enough to spend the night in our community. Ecotourism amounts for over half of the $119 million coming into Franklin County each year. And my business is Franklin County's #1 private tourist attraction. Third, the future of the bluegrass itself. Bluegrass Tomorrow and some of its partners, such as Commerce Lexington, have identified 5 priorities for issues facing the central bluegrass area. The top one, in my opinion, is water supply. Unless we resolve that one, the other 4 are like ranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we cannot cooperate on this one, a common sharing of a major resource, then we indeed are in deep trouble. For the second time in 2 years, we're under water use restrictions. Frankfurt itself, one of the most immune from shortages, is dangerously close to its limit. What happens if use is also restricted for commercial users or industrial users? What if Toyota, or even a family-owned car wash, is forced to restrict use? What will we do with all of our economic development aspirations?
Your 3 minutes is up. If you just summarize, I'd appreciate it.
As the most water-rich of the lower 48 states, we sure would look like hicks if we can't manage our water resources. End the debate. Approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council, very much. Okay, the next person to speak is Billy Beckett.
Thank you. My name's Billy Beckett. I live in Devondale subdivision off of Nicholasville Road. I just wanted to bring up a few points that might step on some politicians' toes, and I know y'all not politicians in a way, but this project has been going on, maybe not brought in forth of you, but surveys have been done for approximately 15 years or more. And still, I can't water my yard but every few days. They're fixing to have a big project at Kentucky Horse Park, and it would be awful shameful if we couldn't let them drink of water when that time gets here. But as far as Kentucky American Water, I have nothing against them. But as far as the Kentucky River, I had to disagree with someone the other day that she said we are in the same shape we was several years ago, but we're not. We have more water going out. Personally, I helped lay the water line to Toyota. We have water going all the way to several different counties. The river is lower than it's ever been, and not due to rain, but due to the dredging of the river. The locks are locked tight, some of them are. And as far as using water out of the river, if it's not there, you cannot use it. And if whatever pool they go to, which I'm not sure about pools or what, but it's still the same river. So if they don't dredge it like they used to for the barges to go upriver, which they can't, excuse my ring. Sorry about that. But if the water is just not there, and if you ever go down to the river, you know yourself, you can walk across the river at certain times of the year. And if you would go to where Kentucky American Water right now uses, they just opened 2 locks up the river for them. And I would just like to say that there is an endless supply in Ohio River. And as far as several counties coming together, if you ever been to a commissioner's meeting, you know they can't get along, and when you put 4 or 5 counties, and I know the mayor of several other counties, you're not going to get them to all agree on one thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. All right, we'll move then to Karen Carey.
Good evening. My name is Karen Carey. I live in Stamping Ground, Kentucky. I'm here to speak against the Kentucky American Water proposal for several reasons. One is that in 2005, the World Monuments Fund named Central Kentucky's bluegrass landscape as one of the world's 100 most endangered places. It's a place we all love, and the Kentucky American Water Company proposal, while they say they'll be able to put everything back, you can't replace the soil when you've dug it 8 feet deep, and you can't grow the same kinds of things, no matter what attempts may be made. Really beautiful, beautiful Central Kentucky landscape will be destroyed and can't be replaced. So in a way, we'd just be signing our death warrant for what we're trying to propose. It seems to me that there's also some good economic reasons not to choose that. The Louisville pipeline proposal would be less expensive to ratepayers, and it would access an endless supply of water. The Kentucky American proposal, on the other hand, would be a short-term solution, and their cost estimates don't include the cost in the future of connecting to the Ohio River, which is indeed part of their plan. I guess I think the most important reason not to do it is that we are in a situation right now where we have choices, and I believe that the taxpayers in Lexington would prefer to, if they have to spend more money for something public, they would probably prefer to spend it on better parks, better roads, fixing the water problem we already have, and having an adequate supply of water at a lower cost from Louisville. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey. All right, James Harvener is the next speaker.
My name is Jim Harvener. I live in 704 Hagen's Place in Lexington, Kentucky. I came up here about 1959, and I served on many water committees over that period of time, and each time American Water has come up with some nifty way of getting water by proposing pools that we never could get set up, or never could they. So they just blamed the public because they didn't get on it, or they blamed the necessary people who were in charge that they didn't use the proper English to spell these things out. I'm so disappointed with American Water Company in regards to the way they think things out, and then when it happens, we told you so. That's the thing that I'm getting a little wound out about, but that's beside the ear. I think we should consider other companies to help us with this water problem, and Louisville happens to be one of them. And the reason I say that is that maybe we will be the Louisville Water Company here, and that wouldn't be a very bad thing to happen, since we've been trying to get our own water company, but I'll get the name of this one. Our water company here seems to have enough of money to defend themselves, and as a result, we lost that whole idea of possibly owning it ourselves. I am a little disappointed on how we come across with this proposal, number 3, I think you call it, Pool 3. Why aren't we looking at getting the water from the Ohio River? I know it's been anchored a few times to do that, but is it that expensive? I've never seen this in the papers, nor have I seen it from your committee, where they actually made an effort to say, hey, what we're doing now, or what we're going now with the American Water Company is the right way to go. I'm left in the dark, and I read and I listen to the Channel 3 for anything that might help us. I am a little disappointed, period, in that respect. We've been prolonging this thing for years, and now we end up with some Rush-Hill pool that we're going to put in. Is that the right way? And are we going to get 10 more years or 20 more years of water? And then where are we going to be? Looking for another pool or go back to the Ohio River? I've heard enough about the different problems we have, and I won't go through it because I got a list of them, all the times that we've gone through it. I'm going to discard that. But
let me say to you that your 3 minutes are up, so if you would summarize, I would appreciate it.
My honest opinion is that we should take more time in determining who should supply us the water. I mean, what company? Is it the Louisville company or any others that have been bidding? Not necessarily look at the American Water Company right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvener. Okay, the next person to speak would be Robert Pinkston.
Good evening. My name is Bob Pinkston. I'm from Frankfurt. I appreciate the opportunity to have this microphone again tonight. I spoke the other night in Owenston. I will come to the same conclusion that I came to Monday. I'm going to take a little different approach. Let me start with saying cost is indeed a factor. Louisville has said they can get water to Shelby County for $1.71 per 1,000 gallons. According to Kentucky American's website, and factoring in their proposed rate increase that's currently pending, they're going to be charging $2.50 for water for resale, $2.80 for water for residential, and that's just factoring in about half of what they've requested. So they've requested higher rates than that. So we're looking at 45 to 60% more than the $1.71. Kentucky American can't produce and transport water 30 miles for $1.71. If they could, I submit that we're paying way too much for water now. So here's what we have. The Louisville pipeline, you start at $1.71, you add in $65 million for a pipeline to Lexington. The Monterey plant that they have proposed, you're starting at $2.50. You're adding a $165 million project. You're then adding a $100 million pipeline extension up to Carrollton. And please don't forget that $100 million is coming. So I ask Kentucky American to please don't continue the charade that your Monterey plan is cheaper in the long run. Cheaper for who? Not for the taxpayers. Cost is a factor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pinkston. Next to speak is Jim McWilliams.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jim McWilliams. I live at 615 Indian Gap Road in Frankfort, Kentucky. I will be affected by the proposed pipeline in many different ways. The first way is that it will cross my property in northern Franklin County. The other way would be, I think I would be adversely affected if the Frankfort Water Plant Board bought into this proposal, bought some of this very expensive water. I currently am on the Peaks Mill Water District, which buys its water from the Frankfort Plant Board. I have a few prepared remarks. I just want to run through these very quickly. My reason for asking you to oppose the Kentucky American plan to build a water treatment plant in Owen County and the construction of a very large 42-inch pipeline through Franklin and Scott counties are as follows. This plan will not meet the long-term water needs of the region. This plan will not drought-proof the region. This plan will not provide protection against catastrophic events that may occur in and along the Kentucky River, such as large-scale contamination or dam failure due to natural, accidental, or terroristic act. This plan is not cost-effective for the ratepayers and the taxpayers of Central Kentucky. Central Kentucky would be better served by a pipeline connection with the Louisville Water Company or by increasing the size of its own water treatment plant. The Kentucky American Pipeline proposal will duplicate facility, which I believe is a concern of the Commission, and it will also create environmental damage throughout the Elkhorn Valley. The Kentucky American Water Company has proposed to build the treatment plant and pipeline to supply water to Central Kentucky. Their two-phase proposal will ultimately tap into the Ohio River, bringing water to a proposed treatment plant on the Franklin-Owen County line, just a few miles from my house. It's on Pool 3. Phase 1 of their proposal involves the construction of a water treatment plant capable of producing 20 million gallons a day, and of course the 31-mile pipeline. Kentucky Americans suggest that Phase 1 will provide an ample water supply for the customers for between 10 and 20 years. The projected cost is $160 million. Phase 2 of their proposal involves the construction of a raw water pipeline from the Ohio River to the proposed water treatment plant on Pool 3 of the Kentucky River. The estimated cost backing into it would be about $105 million or $265 for both phases. Back about a decade ago, I think the Louisville Water Company and Kentucky American Water had a signed agreement to build the pipeline. I went back and did some research and looked at the pipeline path, and unfortunately it diverged greatly from the I-64 corridor. It basically ripped right through some of the most scenic horse farm country in Central Kentucky. Why they didn't select a more logical route of staying along this existing defiled corridor, I really don't know. I think one of the reasons is that they followed a gas transmission line. They piggybacked on it. Had they stayed along the corridor, I don't think the people of Woodford County would have been quite as upset as they were. And I think the Louisville Water Company connection would be logical in that regard.
Let me say to you that your 3 minutes are up. If you'd summarize, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, I will summarize it. A cost-effective, reliable, drought-proof solution to the long-term water needs of Central Kentucky must be selected over a short-term, unreliable, inadequate, and costly proposal. The connection of Louisville and Lexington water suppliers using the Ohio River as a source achieves the stated goals of the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission and Kentucky American Water. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McWilliams. All right, let me say that we're fast approaching the end of my list of folks that have indicated a desire to speak. When we get to the end, which is going to be 6 or 7 more speakers, I'm going to make sort of a last call. It is our intention to stay here just as long as there are folks that desire to speak, but it's also our intention not to stay around unnecessarily if no one else wishes to speak and everyone has sort of said their piece. So if you have not spoken and you desire to speak, I would ask that you let Andrew Milnikovich of our staff or any of the staff members know that now so that we can put you on the list. Otherwise, when we get to the end, that will be it. Okay, the next speaker is Foster Pettit.
Members, excuse me, members of the Public Service Commission, thank you very much for coming here tonight to hear some of us. I didn't plan to speak, but I've got some thoughts I would like to share. I've been involved with droughts, I think, all my life because I was born August 24, 1930, and that's the benchmark year for the worst droughts ever. There's no question on the issue of what we need, a better source of water. The issue, of course, is how best to deliver it to central Kentucky, to all the communities that need it. I have not studied it like Charles Martin and other members of the commission, and I certainly appreciate their hard work over the months and years. However, I think, and I'm sure you will, consider the Louisville proposal. I've talked to the deputy mayor in Louisville at some length on this issue to educate myself, and they indicate they have a substantial surplus of treated water, and they're bringing the pipeline this way anyway, and they very much, I think, would like to deliver treated water to Lexington and other communities in the area. I would urge the commission to, and I hope the Louisville Water Company supplies detailed information on the cost. The issue is not how best to get it, although I think it is, but it's tied into the cost of it, because once you get the cost established, that'll be embedded in the rates from now on. I think and agree with those who've said previously that the Pool 3 solution is a short-term solution. Now, I don't know how short that is, but if it's 25 years or 20 years, that's still short-term for central Kentucky. And the Louisville, the Ohio River has enormous source of water, and we need to be looking at that for the long run. And now I think we have a chance to get it through the Louisville Water Company at a price that I suspect is going to be considerably less than the cost of the Kentucky American plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. All right, the next speaker is Andy McDonald.
Good evening. My name is Andy McDonald. I'm a resident of northern Franklin County. I live a few miles from where the proposed treatment plant would be on Pool 3. I thank you for offering the public an opportunity to comment on this project, this proposal. Let me begin with an analogy. The image that's been coming to me is a person wants to put a roof on their house, and so they call a couple roofers to come out and get a bid for it. And one roofer comes out and says, well, I'll take off your old roof and put on new shingles, and it's going to cost so much. Another roofer comes out and says, well, I'm going to tear off the roof, and it's going to cost this much. And after I get it torn off, then I'll tell you what it's going to cost to put the new roof back on. And so the person's thinking real long and hard about which roofer to hire. And I feel like we're in that situation right now, in which Kentucky American has told us and presented a proposal where they're going to go halfway. And after we commit to going halfway at some point in the future, they're going to tell us what going all the way is going to cost. We have an alternative option which proposes to tell us how we can get all the way. We can get the full project completed, we'll know what the cost is right now, and we'll be able to make a decision based upon the long-term costs for the long-term solution. I urge the Public Service Commission to halt this process and at the very least send Kentucky American back to provide a full proposal, a fully elaborated proposal for what the long-term solution to the water problem is. There's really no point in discussing a short-term solution, one of this magnitude, that's only the halfway, because it leaves begging, what is the cost of the long-term going to be? The comparison between the Louisville option and the Pool 3 option really is not an apples-to-apples comparison, because the Pool 3 option doesn't give you the same result. It's not the same thing. And so we're not comparing the same projects. I think the residents, the ratepayers of Lexington would be sorely misserved if the Public Service Commission approved this project that left a huge unknown cost hanging over their heads. And in addition to that issue, I think it's also really important to consider what would be the environmental impacts of the different options. And even if the Louisville option turned out to be somewhat more expensive, which I doubt, would the people of Lexington really want to do this kind of damage to this beautiful area in central Kentucky, to do all the damage to the beautiful scenic areas? And I realize that considering the environmental impacts is not your mandate as the Public Service Commission, but it's an important factor to consider. It's important for the people of Lexington to know what they would be sacrificing if they consented to the proposal, the Pool 3 proposal. And I acknowledge that there's going to be some impacts of putting a pipeline down the I-64 corridor, but that land has already been heavily impacted. And the cost overall to society would be less, I am convinced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. All right, Catherine Musey.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad I'm seeing this many people here. Hope I do a little better tonight. Kentucky American Water.
Would you formally identify yourself for the record and give us your address, please?
I'm Catherine Musey, and we farm on 1262 in Frankfort. The other night I spoke about water issues as far as our farm goes, and the trenching that Kentucky American Water will be doing to institute this plan. After the meeting the other night, we drove over into Monterey to see where they were placing this treatment plant, and we spoke to people on the streets. They didn't even know. They didn't know about the phase 1 of going from Monterey to Lexington. They did not know about going from Monterey to the Ohio River. And I think it's important for us to all know that and hear that, because that small community, does anybody here know what it's like to be part of a community? I do, because I am part of a community. And they're usually pretty tight-knit. And for them not to know this is a shame. And again, I'm going to say, all you people on these water boards and all this, where have you been? What have you been doing to improve the Kentucky River? I'm ashamed. I am. And I'm willing to try to help myself. It has not been dredged in years. Why don't everybody stand up? Can you all stand up? Can they be allowed to stand up?
Well, you can ask them. I don't know if they
Would you
if
all
they will or
like
not.
to? Okay. Who in here is about 9 foot tall? And the reason I'm asking that is because if you go down there on that river, it's only about 9 foot deep. It's only about 9 foot deep. And I'm only 5'5", but it's not much over my head. It's full of silt. It's full of debris. It's full of logs. It's full of, and as a farmer, everybody, all the farmers along this route that we cannot, it's not going to benefit us. They want to go through us and take a 90-foot swath for 2 years in a lot of us, it's our prime fields. Now, what are we supposed to do? See, I'm getting that wild voice again. I'm sorry. But anyway, farmers all along this route irrigate from the creek, the Elkhorn Creek, and the river. And if Kentucky American is allowed to do this, what they are proposing, and it's only a Band-Aid, folks, it's only a Band-Aid. They are saying in like 10 years, they're going to have to go to the Ohio River. It's $165 million to go from Monterey, the little community that doesn't know beans about this. Those people don't know what's going on, and they should know. And then to go from Monterey to the Ohio River in Carrollton is going to be over another $100 million. Can anybody add? How much is that? We know how much it is. It's a lot. And it's going to hurt us. And times are hard, and we do need water. We're not saying people don't need water, but we're saying that we need to look at other solutions. And one solution that I'm willing to look at is the upgrade of the Frankfort Plant Board. And we can get grant money for that. And also we can get grant money for the Louisville proposal. We can't get grant money for the Kentucky American. They're going to take it from us. And like Andy said, they're trying to get their money in advance on their little roof project.
Your 3 minutes is up if you'd summarize, please.
Okay. Well, I just think this is a very bad proposal, the Kentucky American Water proposal. I think Frankfort can upgrade and bring another 18, is this right, Mr. Warner? Keynes, they can bring it up to 18 million more gallons a day to get to Georgetown and Lexington area by an upgrade? Okay. We need our grant writers to get busy. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Musey. All right, the next speaker is Tona Barkley.
Good evening. You've seen me before. I'm from Southern Owen County. You all have such an important decision to make that impacts so many people for a long time. And I would like to ask you to look closely at that 2004 feasibility study, which is being held up as the reason that this choice was made, this project was chosen. And from what I understand about that study, the Louisville option was one of the choices that was looked at, and it was one of the top ones. But that it did not come out at the top because the buildability factor brought it down. And why did the buildability factor bring it down? Because of the fight in the late 90s over bringing water from Louisville. But the plan that is currently proposed by the Louisville Water Company is not the plan that is in that feasibility study. If it were, I believe that that plan would have come to the top. And I'm not calling into question the honesty of the people who did this. I know they worked very hard, and I know it's hard for them to hear the results of their work, people saying, no, 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 let's go back and look again. But we need to go back and look again. And I'm asking you to do that and to consider that there's a problem with that study in terms of the options that are on the table now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Warner Brothman.
My name is Warner Broman. I'm a ratepayer of Kentucky American. I live here in Lexington, Kentucky, and I appreciate y'all coming to Lexington to hear what everybody has to say. There's been several things said, and I'd like to make it known that I've been to many of these water meetings and heard some of them talk. I've heard Bill talk before and all the others that have done a lot of work in the past, but I'd like to give a contrary opinion perhaps. The sensible solution is for Kentucky American to follow their original proposal of the 1990s and construct a pipeline to meet the Louisville Water Company line, which will be extended by the Louisville Water Company to Shelbyville. That's the eastern Shelbyville exit. This connection will make an immediate connection to the Ohio River supply. And as we all know already that the Ohio River is more than 100 times bigger than the Kentucky River. Bill's done a lot of work on this, got the valve operating plan and all this, but yet he tells us we're still in a drought and he can't do anything about it. So it appears that his valve operating plan is not the answer. The answer is the Ohio River. I was told after going to one of the Bluegrass Supply Commission meetings that the cost effectiveness of the Kentucky American plan was really the way to go, that the lines crossed and it was more cost effective for the ratepayers. So I went back and did my own calculations. I'm not an economist or anything like that, but I did a few calculations on the cost of water produced by Kentucky American and the cost of water purchased from Louisville Water Company. I included something that was not included in the filing with your commission. They didn't include the cost of purchasing the bonds to build the plant. There's $160 million worth of bonds. The amortization of that is nearly $18 million a year. That wasn't included in the cost. When we include those in the cost to produce their original 6 million gallons a day, which is what they plan to start the plant at, it will cost approximately $12,106,000 more to the ratepayers to buy the Kentucky American plan than it will to bring water from Louisville. You say, well, that will cross eventually and that cost will come down. That's true, it does come down. It comes down over time, and after 22 years, we've spent $173,732,893 more dollars to buy water from the pool number 3 than if we bought it from Louisville Water Company in a pipeline. That's over a 22-year period. That's about $1,700 per ratepayer in Lexington ratepayers. There's about 100,000 ratepayers, and that's a lot of money, folks. We really, really, really need to have your people on staff look at the total cost of this project and cost them out to the ratepayers. It's not in our best interest to pay $173 million more for water from Pool 3 when it's not even the total solution. We still have to build a water line to the Ohio River, and we all know that. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck making the decision. It's going to be a good one.
Thank you. All right, the next speaker is Marcella Wiley.
Hello, my name is Marcella Wiley. I live at 2948 Jones Lane, which is on Highway 1262. Part of the proposed water line route. My family
is that in Owen County?
No, it's
Franklin?
in Frankfort.
Franklin, okay.
I live near the Schweitzer Covered Bridge.
Okay.
So I know what historical things are and the impact that the water and things have. I have lived in this house ever since I got married. My husband's family has owned our farm since the mid-1800s. It was not until 1982 that I had city water on my property. So I know the value of water, but not at an astronomical fee. I want to say something. Some of the people around me were notified that the Kentucky American Water had proposed this pipeline, They did not communicate with all the people whose property they were going to go through. And for another thing, they kind of picked and chose whose property they were going to go on and not go on. And then they went in my neighborhood and did a proposed buying of 4.5 acres of land for a sub-pumping station. Do you know what that does to the value of your property? One day you'll have 20 acres of land with a nice new house that's worth $375,000. The pump station comes in and it may be worth $75,000 the next morning. That is not very good ethics. Plus, they never notified the people next door. There has not ever been a zoning change for this property, and I drive past it every day. For another thing, I counted today, in 1 mile stretch, there is 538 trees that's going to be affected. We're all concerned about the greening, the warming up of America. If you take away our green trees, they provide us oxygen, what's going to be left? I know I live with rock ledges on my farm, and I've been helping my husband dig post holes for several years, and the rock never go back in the post holes that they come out of. And I have seen pictures of the devastation that this water company has left behind, and I want to know when they go through there what they're going to do with all these rock ledges and how they're going to fill the holes, because rocks do not fill holes. And another thing, I think that you appointed officials and the elected officials of our communities need to look for alternative solutions. Scott County has had a proposed reservoir for many years. They keep dangling it like a carrot before the voters, and it never gets anything done. They need to look for alternative solutions within their communities. And I would like to say that as a landowner and concerned citizen for my neighbors, that I wish y'all would consider the devastation it's going to do to this countryside and the liquid gold that's going to be going through our pipeline on our property, which they control 90 foot of it all in all, because we can't build on either side 30 foot. And I pay taxes on my land, and I would like to think that $3 a linear foot is just chicken feed according to the many millions of dollars that they're going to be given. So I think that you all should consider the proposed water line to Louisville. It's more economical, and it's in the best interest of most citizens.
Thank you. Our last speaker, according to the list that I have, is Don Pratt. While Mr. Pratt's coming forward, let me reiterate, if anyone else wishes to speak, you need to let us know immediately, please. Okay, I see a hand in the back. We will get your name in just a second, sir.
I have these to share with you. You want me to bring those to you? Or somebody take them up to it? Okay, I'll give you for them. Actually, the history is that these are the, yeah, I got some more I'll get to you. I'd certainly like for the media and the Attorney General to have these, and even the Mayor of Winchester, if you don't mind making sure you got these. And if anybody else would like one, I'm sure Sandy would provide you this. My name is Don Pratt, and I have a history with the Kentucky River, first as a scout going all the way from Beattyville to Carrollton. And then a dentist in Frankfort asked me to go skiing with him on the Kentucky River, and I took him up. And it was my first skiing experience, and of course my knees were weak. And I finally got up, but not very long, and quickly flipped over. And I came up out of that water with the nastiest taste in my mouth that I ever had, and still can remember it well. About from here where those cameras are, hanging from a tree in the Kentucky River was a dead cow. It was ripe. It stunk. And this Kentucky American River proposal stinks. It stinks worse than that dead cow. I have joined this adventure of going after the Kentucky American River proposal, and I don't consider myself an authority. But I have found that the Kentucky River solution is possibly the best solution, but it is not from the third pool. It should have been from the 9th, 10th, 11th, and building storage above that point, and using the facility that now exists to provide all the water we need. Of course, that's not necessarily the long-term solution. And the long-term solution is probably still the same as the short-term solution, which is to Louisville, and it's doable, it's faster, and it's far less expensive, and that's truth. Sandy's statistics will show you that. And this doesn't actually mean and account for the issue of inflation. It doesn't account for changes that could come about, including a lower rate by the Louisville Water Company. Obviously, it's far less environmentally damaging and better public policy not to go through a new territory and destroy and create the potential for greater development in those areas. That's a serious concern, both for those residents that spoke and for the future for all of us. I came to this issue with a lot of questions, and thankfully I had a conscientious authority who was formerly my Pershing rifle instructor in ROTC, and he helped me get through a lot of these questions, but I still have many, many more, and they keep coming up, and I will ask them. Of course, my memory doesn't always maintain them. The most important thing I want to say to you tonight and to everyone here, I fear behind closed doors decision making. I thank you for the opportunity, as well as generally the opportunity before public bodies to express my concern. I don't care if it's an individual behind closed doors or a group of individuals, such as a company, or a board of directors for a corporation, or even politicians. You can ask Foster Pettit if I haven't found politicians untrustworthy. And I've expressed that many times. I do not want this kind of bad, stinking, behind closed doors decision making to cost the taxpayers, the ratepayers, the excessive amount of money that you will find in this chart. The cumulative amount after 15 years, their own figures is $122 million. After 26 years is $176 million. That will come out of our pockets. And that doesn't even account for their potential sale of this company and what that rate raise may cause for us ratepayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Okay. Let me ask Mr. Pratt. Mr. Pratt, do you want the graph that you just provided us made a part of the record for consideration?
I'd love to.
All right.
A little bit more explanation if you'd like.
Well,
We will definitely get that to you.
I tell you what, any further explanation that you or anyone wishes to give with regard to the graph, we'd love to have it, but let's do that in writing if we could. And we'll and that way we'll have it to actually look at. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Marshall, go ahead and identify yourself, please, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Marshall. I reside in Frankfort, Kentucky. I'm an attorney in Frankfort. I'm a former staff member of the Public Service Commission and very much appreciate the commission and its mission and wish you well. I really had not planned to say anything tonight. I was saving it for tomorrow night when you have your meeting in Frankfort. But I did want to say something before I leave tonight about the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission and the comments that have been made on behalf of that commission tonight. I know that they have worked hard. I have attended a meeting. I went to the High Bridge meeting several months ago where they had invited legislators to come. The purpose of asking the legislators to come to that meeting was because they said that they needed to drum up support, in effect, for $60 million in grant money, $25 million from the state and $35 million from the feds. When I attended the meeting and listened, the presentation that was given on behalf of the commission, it was stated that we need to do this in order to make it affordable for the communities who are involved in the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission And without the $60 million in grants, which, let's face it, that's taxpayer subsidies, without the $60 million in grants, in effect, they were toast. They weren't going to be able to pull it off. And, you know, I have a real problem with representations made to the commission about how this is so affordable and not mentioning the fact that they're looking for that $60 million. They've gone so far as in their last meeting, as I understand it, to suggest that they pay $60,000 to hire a lobbyist to help them get their grant money. I understand that's been tabled by a wise decision by one of the gentlemen who spoke tonight, but I expect it will come up again before the Bluegrass Water Supply Commission. Very quickly, I saw Jerry give me the sign there. I need to stress the buildability factor that Tona Barkley mentioned. I think that is an important thing that needs to be reviewed by the staff. You need to think about reliability and redundancy. It's just not a simple matter of cost. You need to think about a Twin Rivers solution. The Ohio, you've got the Kentucky and you've got Pool 9 now. You might be able to expand on Pool 9. If you have the Ohio and there's an event on the Kentucky in this post-9/11 world, you will still have water with which to keep people able to function and your business is able to function. So remember reliability and remember what are the true costs that are out there. It may not be only what you're shown. Look for the thumb on the scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. All right, are there any other individuals that wish to address the commission this evening? First, second, and last offer. No, there was someone in the back that raised her hand, I think.
I just wanted to invite everybody to get your neighbors, come to the Folk Life Festival in Frankfurt again, because it gives the history of the Kentucky River for those people who have never been down on the river. Come down to the Folk Life Festival because it's of the history of the Kentucky River. You need to see that.
All right. Anyone else wish to address the commission? Yes, sir.
My name is Skip Johnson. I live in Stonewall. And this is, having listened to all of this, it's a great education. I haven't studied it carefully, but I would only make a couple of comments. I'm assuming that one of the basic parts of the equation that go into your decision is a very careful study of the flow rates of the Kentucky River. And I don't have that history, but I would assume that somebody would have to give that to you in order to make your decisions. Not only the flow rate and what it is at its worst times, but what the river will look like if the water company draws down the river to give us the amount of water that we've got to have. It's one thing for the flow rate to be adequate if you're not drawn on it. It's something else to know whether it's going to be adequate or what it's going to do to the structure of the river. You draw the Kentucky down to a few feet, and I have no idea how much damage that would do. I would imagine considerable. So it is certainly a matter of cost, which as a taxpayer concerns me, but it's also a matter of being very, very thorough about the data that you have and knowing exactly what will happen if Kentucky American has to draw the river way, way down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else? Okay, the commission very much appreciates everyone coming out this evening. We appreciate you leading your families here at the dinner hour, and possibly some of you have left work a little early to come down and speak to us. It is very important for the commission to hear what the public has to say about this very important issue. As I said in Owenston the other day, we are all, the three of us are commissioners of the Public Service Commission, and you folks pay our salary. I've got to tell you that by the time this case is over, the three of us may be asking you for a raise, because it's definitely going to be, it has definitely been an interesting exercise so far, and doubtlessly will be further once we issue our decision. But again, thank you very much for coming this evening. It's been very educational for all of us. We will be in Frankfort tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. at our offices on Sauer Boulevard to conduct the third and last public hearing on this issue. And those of you who are here this evening and who might have spoken are certainly more than welcome to come again tomorrow night and speak to us again. We always like to hear from you. And until then, I bid each one of you pleasant evening, and please be careful going home.